You're too traditional. Um, Everybody else have a power. They have a king. They have somebody that they can look at. And here we have old you. Now, what you've got to understand also, well, maybe I don't want to go too far. Our text was during a time when judges ruled. They ruled everything. I hope you'll pray with me here, because I really need your help. Pray for my voices as we go along. Y'all know I used to have a strong voice, but just pray for me. But Samuel was a judge, and his hope was that his sons would succeed him. Any good father would like to have his boys to be able, or his children, to be able to succeed him. But, somebody say but, there was a big problem. They were corrupt. Like people in the White House, like the people in our government. They're corrupt. They're liars. They're cheaters. They're rapists. They were for sale. And how many of you know that God really can't use people who are for sale to the highest bidder? They're like our Supreme Court. It reminds me so much of this day. People that are for sale, give me a yacht, fly me to another country, and you got my vote. So they were like our Supreme Court, really. So the people didn't have confidence in these judges. They didn't believe too much in the judges. Now, the judges were supposed to be God's judges. They were supposed to be speaking what God would have them to speak, but the people didn't have any confidence. So this made Samuel's boys undesirable. Every time they would see them, they would say, there goes Samuel's boys. And you know they ain't right. And everybody saw how corrupt they were. I want you to follow me here. I want you to see this. They were bad boys. They didn't care about whether or not you were right or wrong. All they wanted was what they could get for themselves. What we do, I want you to know this, can turn people toward God or can turn people away from God. Y'all need to hear me. That's why it's so important for us church folk to understand that what we do, somebody say what I do, amen, can turn people toward God or away from God. So here they were. See, so here they were, these corrupt guys. So now, loaded with that knowledge that Samuel wanted his boys to take charge, and his boys were crooked. This text makes a little bit more sense to me, Pastor John. Why would I want corrupt men to be over me? Why would I want corrupt judges to be over me? Why would I want people that supposed to be speaking for God, yet they're speaking? Why do I want them over me? And the old man ain't gonna take charge, and he's not gonna get in his position and rule like God wanted him to rule. So They didn't want any more of these so-called religious judges. I noticed how these past couple of years, how I see all this corruption in the church. People don't care about God. They don't care about what people are doing. And it bothers me. I don't know if it bothers anybody else. And I kind of feel like those people did then. Lord, is there a better way to do it? That's actually what they were asking. Is there a better way to do it? We put them down. Yes, we put them down, and there's a reason. But they looked at us. They looked at the corruption. And it makes better sense to me now, Pastor Kevin, when I look at the big problem. They left. The problem was they didn't want these corrupt boys trying to tell them right from wrong when they're doing wrong themselves. They didn't want these corrupt sons to be over them. So what they did, they said, what I want is we want a king. We're tired of church. We're tired of church people. We're tired of people preaching to us out of one side of their mouths and living another way on the other side of their mouth. They said, we want a king. Enough of these judges. Enough of these preachers. Isn't that something? I don't know if you saw that or not before. Had you thought about it? But that's what they were tired of listening to people tell them what thus says the Lord, and the Lord wasn't in it at all. So the big problem was that these people wanted a king, and God might not have been so upset, but the big problem was they left God out of it. They decided themselves what they wanted. It was no praying council talking to God about give us a king. These were corrupt people who wanted a king, and they wanted a king not for the glory of God. They wanted the political power. They wanted the position. Somebody say amen here. And they left God out of it. Let me help you out here. When you're getting ready to make a decision, make sure you don't leave God out of it. I don't care whether it's school, I don't care whether it's marriage, whatever it is. Look at somebody and tell them, don't leave God out of the plan. Yeah, don't forget who brought you where you are. You didn't come here, amen, by yourself. And the fact that they had left God entirely out, coupled with the fact that they had a tendency to go after idol gods, was a flawed plan. They would go for anything. The first thing that was shaken, they would go for that. Therefore, the request for a king kind of makes good sense to me. Yeah, kind of make good sense, because God's people were messed up. There was no light shining from heaven. Samuel was a good man, but the other people were corrupt and bad. Now, the significance of this chapter is a transition period where, and I want you to understand this was a time of theocratic rule. And theocratic rule, actually, all it means is that there were divine appointed people, judges in charge. And when you see the word theocratic or theocracy, that just refers to God's rule. So God is supposed to be ruling. But how many of you know, I hate seeing hypocrites. People that shout on Sunday, because she out on Monday. I don't like hypocrites. People that tell me they love me one minute and put me down the next minute. But these people were supposed to be rulers, God's priests and God's preachers. But no, that they weren't. Now keep in mind that Samuel wanted his boys in charge. And the problem was that they had all the problems. And these people were greedy. So Israel was being ruled by corruption. And it reminds me, as I said, of us, like the people in the text. The religious right didn't care about racism. They didn't care about criminal convictions. They didn't care, I need some help here. They didn't care about rape. They didn't care about bribery. They didn't care about the number of crimes people were committing. They didn't care about corruption. It doesn't matter. Somebody said it doesn't matter. Just give me somebody that will do what I want them to do. And that angered God. And give us somebody who looks like us. Give us somebody who talks like us. Give us somebody who don't care about their fellow man like us. Give us a king that can resolve all of the problems that we have, who says, I alone can fix it. Give us a king. The people then were full of religious tolerance, and I'm going to say this and then I'm done. Samuel said, well, God, this is your nation and your folk. And your folk are saying, I want a king. They're saying they're tired of us being in charge. And Samuel did what we should do. He said, I must tell Jesus. Or Jesus wasn't there then, but I must tell God. And God instructed him. Listen to this. And you need to grab this. God warned the people in verses 1 through 8. He said, now, you're saying you want a king. You forgot who brought you out of Egypt land. You forgot who brought you out of exile. You forgot who was bread when you were hungry. You forgot who was water when you were thirsty. You've forgotten who brought you where you are. You forgot who put clothes on your back. And you want just anybody. You don't talk to me. You're not consulting with me. And Samuel told them the word of the Lord. The Lord said, if they want a king, give them a king. Now let me help y'all out here. This nation, our nation, has been wanting a king. They were determined to have a king. That's where we are. That's where we are right now. And what God is saying to us, if that's what you want, this is what you're going to get. But what you don't, see, you're fighting against your own self. You don't realize that those of you with Social Security, they want to try to mess with that. They don't realize that those of you with Medicare, that they're going to try to take care of that. You don't realize you thought you were doing good. See, what he goes on to tell them, it's in this chapter down here, he says, the people, they're going to put your boys into the military. They're going to start, that's in these verses. Just keep on reading that chapter, verse 11 to 18. They're going to start a draft. There's going to be a war. And that your children are going to have to go and be involved in this. And he started talking about the chariots. And he said, and he's going to use people. He's going to tax you. The king. Because the king is not looking out for God. The king is looking out for the king. The king is concerned about how to make his money, how to build his buildings, how to make him look. And so God says, he's going to take your daughters, and they're going to have to cook for them. They're going to have to be baking. They're going to have to be doing all kinds of stuff. They're going to have to put. He said they're going to tax your people. Can I just talk to you? He said they're going to put tax on your people. I'm talking about this lesson. Go to chapter 8 and just look at it and all that. They're going to put tax on the people. I look at that kind of like tariff. Put tax on the people where everything costs you more. It's going to take a tenth. He says it's going to take a tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. God says, give them what they want. Now listen here. And the Lord's answer to them, verse number 7, he says, you discourage preachers. I mean, you godly preachers. You that are trying to live right, in verse 7. He says, you discourage because you think they've rejected you. But God says, it's not that they have rejected you. They forgot what I've done for them. They forgot where I brought them from. They are not rejecting you. They are rejecting me. No longer, I think this world, no longer do we love God like we should. But you know what we should start doing? We should start praising him. And we should start thanking him. God, you've been good to me. God, I thank you because you brought me from a long way. Times that I could have been dead. My blood pressure was up. Had heart attacks. Times I could have been gone. But you brought me out. Times when I could have lost my house. You brought me out. God said, they're not rejecting you. You're not the one that woke them up this morning. You're not the one that started them on the way. God said, it's me. I want to tell you this morning, don't reject God. So God knew, listen here, God knew who he had made when he made man. Listen to me. God said they want a king. What they don't know is God never goes without a contingent plan. What a contingent plan means is God never does things without having a plan for in case that plan don't work out. They are thinking about their present time and the trouble with Samuel's boys, but they don't know that generations are going to come. And on down the line, there are going to be some people in need. They don't realize that. And God said, I've already made a plan. I've already got in mind a king. Listen, God said, I've already set in place a kingdom. They're looking for these boys as kings. God said, but I've got a king. He said, if I'm going to have Isaiah to announce to you, therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. And behold, the virgin. You want a king? Behold, I got you a king. You just don't know my plan. The virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Matthew chapter 1, verse 22. So all this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the Lord through the prophets, saying, Behold, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son. I'd like to call him the King. Somebody call him the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being translated, God with us. They just don't know. Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born. For unto us a son is given. You want a king? I've already got one in mind. Just hold on. Hold on a little while longer. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name, somebody say his name, shall be called Wonderful. Can somebody say Wonderful? I know he's wonderful. They said his name shall be called Counselor. He's my counselor. When I'm in trouble, can't see my way, my counselor, the mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Looking for a king? Give me a king, God. God said, wait just a little while longer. Behold, a virgin shall bring forth a child. You shall find him lying in a manger, wrapped in swaddling clothes. And what he's going to do, this king, he's going to save you. He's going to save your children. He's not going to put your children into a war like this other king is going to do. Somebody carry this for me, please. Born in a manger, wrapped in swaddling clothes. You want a king? Behold, the king is coming. Just hold on.
Great job. Great job.
Just hold on. He's got you. Amen. He's got you. He's coming. Just hold on. Amen. What a great word. Always a blessing to hear from our bishop, who has taught most of us in here, all of us in here, how to articulate the word. Amen. So it's always a blessing to hear. But for anyone who's here today who has felt like that before, like things aren't moving the way that you believe they should move, and maybe you've had questions on how or why